Sangye chodang soki chok namla jangcho badodak nikyap suchi dakji jin sogi peso namki drola penchie sangye drupa shok pay to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Sangha. Until enlightenment, we take refuge in you. May we, through the merit of generosity and so forth, achieve Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. Pay. Welcome to Tridevi Chamunda Mandir in Denver, Colorado. This is Yamajit, and I welcome you to Tibetan Book of the Dead Sadhana. This will be the practice for days 2 to 3. So just to clarify a little bit, very often the very first sadhana is done twice, and this was the case with my friend and teacher Nafia. So the passage was read to her before she died, and actually with her approval, and then again the following later that day afterwards. So what I'm going to be sharing with you today could technically also be the day 3 sadhana, and then we will move on to day 4 tomorrow. I'd like to say namaste to Kim and Deborah, who are joining right now, and also namaste to everybody who will be watching the recordings. So far, we've had 25 people watching from yesterday's, and some lovely comments to go with it. So I'm going to start with the introduction to the day 2 to 3 sadhana. Most even, though instructed, will not recognize the primary clear light. Most will wonder whether or not they are dead. Thus, they enter a next stage where many potentially frightening illusions appear. In this stage, the deceased must recognize these as illusions created by one's own mind due to past experiences. The deceased is not sure if he or she is dead or not. The deceased may be confused, unsure of who he or she is, when it is, where he or she is, or what is happening. The deceased person can see that his or her body has been prepared for a funeral. That deceased person can see and hear the weeping and wailing of friends and relatives, but gets confused when they cannot hear them calling back. At this time, the deceased person may also experience sounds, lights, and rays. These can awe as well as terrify. So I invite you to make yourself comfortable. Find a comfortable seated position. You could also do this sadhana lying on your back in Shavasana if that feels better for you. I invite you to close your eyes, breathe deeply, and begin by visualizing the deceased person for whom you are doing this sadhana for. And make the declaration that in taking part in this meditation, you are acting as a conduit to convey that information to your deceased loved one. O nobly born. And so at this point, I invite you to silently repeat the name of the deceased. Listen with full attention, without being distracted. Throughout your human existence, you believed the real life was the body and your thoughts, persistent and unchanging. Actually, this was merely one of your many states. Your body has now died, and you are now experiencing reality after physical death. Although the clear light dawned upon you, you were unable to hold on, so you have wandered here. Soon you will experience two other forms of this after death reality. Listen carefully and undistracted. Oh, and again I invite you to silently repeat the name. That which is called death has now come. You are departing from this world, but you are not the only one. Death comes to all. Do not cling in the fondness and weakness of this life. As much as you may try to cling out of weakness, you do not have the power to remain here. Your efforts will be as trying to grasp sand. You will gain nothing more than continued wandering. Be not attached to this world, but not weak. Remember your beliefs of the afterlife. O nobly born one, whatever fear and terror may come to you, in this state, do not forget these words, and bearing their meaning at heart, go forward. This is a completely new experience dawning on me. I put aside all thoughts of fear, terror, and awe. May I recognize whatever visions appear as the reflections of my own consciousness. May I know them to be the nature of this present state of consciousness. At this all-important moment, there is opportunity for achieving a great end. May I not be attached to or repulsed by pleasant or unpleasant visions, but recognize them as my own thought forms. O nobly born, when body and mind were separating, you must have experienced a glimpse of the pure truth, subtle, sparkling, bright, dazzling, glorious, and radiantly awesome in appearance, like a mirage moving across a landscape in springtime, in one continuous stream of vibrations. Do not be terrified or awed. This is the radiance of your own true nature. Recognize it. From the midst of that radiance, you will hear the natural sound of reality, reverberating like 1,000 thunders simultaneously sounding. That is the natural sound of your own real self. But do not be shocked, nor terrified, nor awed. O nobly born, if you do not recognize your own thought forms, perhaps from glimpses experienced while in the human world, or with the help of these teachings, the lights will shock you, the sounds will awe you, the rays will terrify you. If you do not know the all-important key to those teachings, that is, not be able to recognize the sounds, lights, and rays as your own creations, you will have to continue to wander. The body that you now is called the thought body. Since you do not have a material body of flesh and blood, Whatever may come, sounds, lights, or rays, are unable to harm you. You're incapable of dying. It is sufficient to merely know that these are creations of your own thought forms. Recognize this to be present after physical death, the realm that you now inhabit. Om. So I invite you, if you're doing this as a meditation, to take a deep and clearing breath, remembering your loved one. Bring your awareness back to this place and this time. Slowly open your eyes, keeping a relaxed gaze. And namaste. Blessings always. Thank you so much for joining me. And Jai Ma. Jai Ma. Jai Ma. So I'm going to sign off at this point and set up for our Tuesday satsang. And then I will come back on for our second broadcast of the evening, probably in about the next 10 minutes. And I invite you to join me for a meditation centered around a short scripture, the Sri Ganga Stotram. So thank you again for joining me, especially to Deborah and Kim, and see you in a few minutes. Jai Ma.